What if the mind fractured, not alone, but in company? What if fear becomes a contagion, infecting those closest to us? Folie, deux, shared bandits, real consequences. Part 1. The Tromp family. Paranoia on the road. On the morning of August 29, 2016, Mark and Jacoba Tromp, along with their adult children, Rihanna, Mitchell, and Ella, vanished from Sylvan, Victoria, leaving behind everything: cell phones, passwords, credit cards, livestock, paperwork. The house doors remained unlocked, a silent signal of their urgency. Only cash was taken. Within an hour, they dumped Mitchell's phone outside Warburton, convinced it was tracking them. By the next morning, Mitchell fled near Bathurst, disoriented but detached from the family's rage. Yet Mark, Jacoba, Ella, and Rihanna drove onward. At Jenolan Caves, they split. Ella and Rihanna stole a car in Goulburn. Rihanna was later discovered in the flatbed of a farm ute. Catatonic, mute, unable to identify herself. Ella escaped alone. Jacoba was found days later wandering in Yas. Terrified, delusional, hospitalized. The family car emerged near Wangaratta. A figure believed to be Mark disappeared into bushland, reappearing days later near the airport, physically unharmed but mentally shattered. By September 4, all 5 were accounted for. Rihanna and Jacoba remained hospitalized. Ella faced, but later escaped, car theft charges under mental health considerations. Mark quietly issued an apology but offered no explanation. Authorities ruled out external threats. No cult, no debt collectors, no toxins. Instead, psychiatrists conclude it was folie familia. Mark's delusion affecting his family through emotional dependency, stress, and exhaustion. Mitchell's early departure likely saved him. The architecture of the family's collapse depended on isolation and mental contagion. You start thinking the same. A few things build up. You can get sick in some way, Mitchell said. I've never seen anything like it. Part 2. The Eriksson twins. When bond comes obsession. In May 2008, Swedish identical twins Ursula and Sabina Eriksson embarked at Kiel services on England's M6 after a coach ride from Ireland. They whispered frantically, refusing luggage checks, creating a scene. Though staff contacted police, the sisters were allowed to move on. Minutes later, they walked onto the motorway's central reservation.
Where's Paul? Stay.
Ursula charged into oncoming traffic and was struck by a 56 miles per hour articulated lorry.
Seriously injured. The women are twin sisters from Sweden, but what happens next baffles officers.
The other one, she couldn't have run it. Oh no! We've got 2 possible fatals.
Without any warning, one of the women breaks away from the officer into the traffic and is hit by a lorry. Then her sister also runs out.
Sabina followed and was slammed by a Volkswagen Polo, thrown violently into the air. Both lay immobile, then stood up. Ursula had catastrophic leg injuries. Sabina was unconscious for 15 minutes. Ursula began to scream, "I recognize you. You're not real." Sabina, upon regaining consciousness, shouted, "They're going to steal your organs." She assaulted officers and tried to run into traffic again. Miraculously, police released Sabina after just 5 hours. No psychiatric assessment. She was fined for trespass and assault, then released. 3 days later, Sabina encountered a stranger named Glenn Hollinson, who offered to help. He led her to his home. Hours later, Sabina stabbed him 5 times. He staggered outside crying, "She stabbed me," before dying. Sabina fled, smashing her head with a hammer, assaulting a passerby with a roof tile, and ultimately jumping from a 40-foot bridge, shattering both ankles and fracturing her skull. She survived and was later arrested in hospital. Charged with murder on June 6, 2008, she pled manslaughter with diminished responsibility in September 2009. Her defense argued Ursula was the primary inducer, Sabina the secondary. She was sentenced for 5 years, credit for time served, and released in 2011. Ursula was never charged and quietly relocated to the US. Critics insist that the lack of early psychiatric evaluation contributed to the outcome, a preventable death. Shared psychosis, they say, should have been flagged when she first entered traffic. Part 3. Other cases of shared delusion. These examples are not isolated anomalies. Folie deux and its siblings have appeared in global tragedies. Christine and Leah Poppin, France, 1933. 2 live-in sisters, in a reported shared paranoid state, brutally murdered their employer's wife and daughter, gouging eyes and bludgeoning violently. Christine dominated Leah. Christine later died in despair after their separation. Parker Holm. Teenage friends Pauline Parker and Juliet Holm forged extravagant fantasy worlds together. When separation loomed, they murdered Pauline's mother. Medlicott later called it paranoia of the exalted type. Their mutual delusions spiraled together. June and Jennifer Gibbons, Silent Twins, UK. Unbreakably bonded, they created a secret language and committed petty crimes. Jennifer believed she must die for June to live. In 1993, Jennifer died shortly after release from Broadmoor. June was left alone. Burari mass deaths, Delhi, India, 2018. 11 members of the Shundawat family were found dead, tied, blindfolded, hanging. Diaries reveal a ritual led by Lalit, who believed his deceased father's spirit instructed him. Police concluded it was shared psychosis, escalating into ritual mass suicide. Adam family mass suicide, Bangladesh, 2007. 9 family members stepped in front of a moving train, believing they were fulfilling a prophecy from a patriarch who claimed he was the reincarnation of Adam. Subsequent investigation suggested shared delusional belief built over years. These cases show folie deux can amplify across siblings, couples, entire families, even mass death, when one dominant individual impossesses delusion. Separation often offers relief, but not always in time. Part 4. Why it happens and why it terrifies. Psychiatrically, folie deux thrives in emotional isolation. Families tied by stress, partners bound so tightly they surrender autonomy. The DSM-5 no longer lists it separately, but clinical journals and ICD guidelines recognize it for its direct danger. In the Tromp family, fatigue, isolation, emotional dependence, and parental dominance created a setup for collective panic. Mitchell left early, the rest sank. In the twins, genetic identity plus shared isolation heightened susceptibility. When a primary experiences intense delusion like fear of being watched, organ theft fantasies, or possession, others with intimate contact can adopt it as reality. Separation is often both a remedy and trauma, breaking the psychic bond, but also fracture relationships. In clinical practice, early identification and separation, sometimes involuntary, can save lives. But many systems fail to respond until violence or tragedy emerges. These stories challenge our assumptions about responsibility and compassion. When delusion is reciprocated, is it choice, a bond, or a contagious illness? From silent fields to roaring highways, from locked psychiatric wards to ritual hangings, folie deux reveals how fragile and intertwined our minds can be. Shared madness is real. It started with disbelief, grew into action, and sometimes ended in death, and drags others with it.